important symbolic implications. And when you think about it, if you were looking at the situation, in Iraq about 3 months ago, it looked at actually the main beneficiary of this rapid transition that we have been kind of experiencing in the country since 2003, since the invasion of the United States, has been kind of the Iraqi Kurdistan, because they managed to maintain more or less a stable economy which was developing. They had some control over their frontiers and their kind of visa system. And now, in the matter of a few weeks, one by one, they're losing these privileges.
The original referendum, the secessionist referendum, was supposed to draw a line, or it was supposed to be the beginnings of the process of drawing a line under this abrasive relationship between the Kurdish region and the central government in Baghdad. Would I be right in assuming here that it's actually caused more problems than given us solutions?
This was probably the biggest gamble that Mr. Barzani ever took in his political career, and he's already paying a very big price. And I would say the Iraqi Kurdistan is also paying a big price for that political miscalculation, because not only the Iraqi Kurdistan could not gain independence or even get close to it, but they're also losing a lot of privileges that they had, until very recently. And obviously the Iraqi government has lost a sense of trust with the Kurdish authorities up north. And as obviously there are more talks and negotiations are going on, but I very much doubt it if we're going to see kind of going back to normality anytime soon, at least in the near future.
Was part of that calculation on the part of Mr. Barzani, I mean, high-risk stuff for sure. I mean, if you go back to the very early 90s, the people from the Kurdish region were told to rise up. They rose up. They didn't get any support. Fast forward to now, Mr. Barzani says, look, I can lead you on a path to independence. He marches his people up to the top of the hill, and it doesn't happen.
Yes, absolutely. Because even when you think about it from the legal point of view, there are 3 criteria, according to the international law, which can justify the creation of a state. You need to have a defined territory, you need to have a defined population, and more importantly, you need to have the recognition from the international community. Maybe we could argue that Mr. Barzani had the first 2 criteria, but when it comes to the 3rd criteria, which is the recognition by the international community, obviously there was a lot of gap. And Mr. Barzani knew about this. Mr. Barzani was absolutely sure the Iraqi central government, the Turkish authorities, the Iranian authorities, even the American authorities would not actually recognize the new independent Kurdistan. And despite the fact that he knew that there will be serious repercussions and consequences, both from the region and from the wider world, he still went along with the referendum. And of course, one could have a lot of sympathy for the Kurdish people who want to realize the long-term dream of creation of an independent nation state. But in this current climate, of instability, obviously, in my opinion, it was a very big gamble which did not pay off.
About 10 days ago, maybe 12 days ago, when those Iraqi forces started surrounding initially the oil installations in Erbil, we were carrying the pictures of hundreds, perhaps thousands of people trying to get out of that area. We interviewed various government people from Baghdad, and their line was they are Iraqis and they can also be Kurds at the same time. Do the Kurds now have to accept, yes, we're Kurds and we are Iraqis?
Although, this is a very complicated problem, because as you know, since 1991, in some of the schools in Iraqi Kurdistan, even Arabic has not been taught. There are a lot of people who living in Iraqi Kurdistan. They even don't speak Arabic, which is one of the official languages of Iraq. And obviously, if you're talking about identification, if you're talking about political identity, vast majority of the Kurds who live in that part of Iraq, actually, they don't identify with the idea of Iraqi nation state. But when it comes to the legality, when it comes to the political reality, I'm afraid the Turkish authorities are right, because as far as the law is concerned, as far as the constitution is concerned, the people who live in Iraqi Kurdistan are Iraqi and Kurd at the same time.
Afshin Shahi, as ever, great to talk to you. Thanks very much.
Thanks for having me.
Human rights.